Today on Stupid Fast RC, you're going to meet Ken, the big RC. We're going to give you some very quick tips on how to teach yourself to repair your own cars and keep them running. And then we're going to get Ken dirty, and just to prove a point, we're going to break him. And he looks a little bit like this. We're also going to take our Turnigy camera for a run, and you'll see what the end product looks like and be a part of this video. These and other exciting things on Stupid Fast RC. Today on Stupid Fast RC, I'm going to go through some fundamentals about RC cars. I have noticed that a few of you put in the comments section below here, and also from some of the guys in the neighbourhood who's come back to me, that you're buying RC cars and they're breaking, and that seems to be the end of it. Now, it took me a while to figure it out, but I think I've worked it out. Here's the difference between where I came from in my remote control car experience and what's going on here. I actually grew up in a space where a lot of the stuff wasn't ready to run. It wasn't RTR gear. You had to actually build it. It didn't matter whether it was a model plane, a model boat, a car. It came in a kit. You put it together. And here's the difference. So when you get your ready to run car and you break it, suddenly you're stuck and you kind of go, oh, it's broken, I put it in a cupboard, I don't know how to fix it. And that is because you didn't build it. Not saying that that's a bad thing, but what I'm suggesting to you at this point then is maybe you should try and get a kit car and start with a kit car. Start with a car that you have to put together, you have to paint, and then that way when it breaks, you understand how it went together, then you can take it apart and fix it. About half of this hobby is about repairing the cars, and maybe even more than half. And I think that's the difference between somebody who's trying it out for the first time and maybe that hasn't been properly explained. Because I see a lot of comments in the comment section going, I broke it, what do I do now? And I see them, I see the cars that the guys have got, and they have no idea how to fix them, their mum and dad can't help, etc, etc. Look, at the end of the day, it's up to you. And I think there's a few things, a couple of tips here now that I'm going to give you to help you along the way. And it's important that you understand how to fix your own cars. Now for me, a lot of this hobby was about building things from the ground up. I would generally, when I was a kid, I would have started with a motor. So when I started this hobby, I was actually in school, and I actually gave it up for many years until Thomas came along, and so I started again, and it gave me an excuse to get back into it, which wasn't all bad, and we're having a lot of fun. But some differences are that I fix my own stuff because I know how to build it. So what are you going to need to actually not get stuck? You're going to need some tools. If you haven't, I can't borrow any. You can buy them on eBay. These aren't expensive. These are actually semi-expensive tools. You can buy tools that cost hundreds of dollars. You don't really need to go to that extreme, but you shouldn't buy tools that are really, really cheap because they'll strip out your bolts and nuts. Not a good thing. You're going to need a container of some sort to put bolts and nuts in. So it's really important that you don't lose any bolts and nuts when you take things apart. So put it all in one place, and this is a double check, because when you put it back together and you've still got stuff left in this container, you know you've done it wrong. And that's not always a bad thing. Sometimes you can get away with a couple of screws missing here and there, but generally you should go back and find where those screws came from and work out how the thing went back together. But you know, that to me is a first point of I did it wrong. All these cars come with manuals, even the cheap ones. The cheap ones have got manuals, they've got parts lists. If you're buying a car, make sure you can get parts for it. Generally, even the stuff that we've shown you on these cheap Chinese sites, etc., they've got parts. They can send you parts. So you can get online, buy the parts, and they're cheap. The more expensive cars, you can buy them from eBay. You can buy, if you're stuck somewhere, and I've seen this on a couple of comments as well, I don't have any hobby stores near me, I can't buy parts, get on eBay. I mean, you've obviously got access to a computer, you're talking to me, right? So you've got a computer. You can get on eBay, you'll need a PayPal account or somebody's credit card. Anyway, you'll be able to work that out. I'm sure that you can use eBay. And most things like Jenny's RC, that's a very big one in the States, and they post all over the world. There's a heap of them out there, and you go to their store, you find the parts, and even if you go into eBay and type in a brand name like HPI, Traxxas, and a part number, you'll find it. the stuff will just pop out. And most of these stores have got very good reputations. They've posted a lot of stuff out to people. They're not first timers at this. You might even see Stupid Fast RC having bought stuff and put reviews on there as well. And it's important that you give feedback as well on these sites, because if they're not doing a good job, you need to tell them. Now, the next thing you need, oh yes, and of course with your bolts, you can get a magnetic bolt holder. That's pretty flash, that's a bit full on. Obviously plastic stuff doesn't stick, but as long as you've got somewhere to put your bolts. Okay, now this may not be for everyone, but on these sites you can buy all the bolts for your car. So if you're buying something that's a brand name car, you can get onto one of these sites and they will sell you every bolt and nut or every bearing that you need for your car and in a pack. And it's, you know, sub 20, 30 bucks. And when I first started, I actually did that. The first thing I did when I bought a new car was I'd get onto eBay and I would buy every bolt and nut, because the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to get out there and you're going to lose some bolts and nuts. It's just what's going to happen. It's a machine. It's going to go around. It's going to go wrong. As I said before, the key to this is being able to fix it, right? You're going to have to need to learn how to fix it. So you've got tools, you've got spare parts, you've got bolts, you've got a manual. Now the next thing I recommend to you is you don't be afraid to take it apart. Look, what's the worst can happen? It's already broken and it's not going to work, so you may as well have a go at taking it apart. If you're concerned you're not going to be able to get it back together, take it a little bit apart and then put that bit back together. So take it apart in stages. Take it apart, put it back together, take it apart, put it back together, so that you remember, and this is probably most of it. You're going to have a manual, but you're going to have to remember how it goes back together. So don't spread the job over several months, because if you put it away, you're going to forget how it came back together. Try and do it over a few weeks. And as I say, that technique of pull a bit apart, put it back together, or even if it's just for practice, do that. Even if it's just oil some bearings or something, try that. But I do recommend that you don't be afraid of taking it apart, because more than half this hobby is about repairing the car. It's about fixing it, upgrading it, learning how to use it, learning how it works, and learning something about mechanics and learning something about electronics. It's a learning experience. It's not just a game, right? All right, now Tom's here and he's actually came up with a couple of good tips as well. Tom, what do you got?
Buy electric cars, because they're easier to pull apart and put back together.
Yep.
There's a thing called step-by-step photography that I've kind of made, and for pulling cars apart, when you do a part, you take a picture of it, or you could just take a video of you pulling it apart so you remember.
That makes sense. I like that.
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
And then you could do it backwards.
Okay, what else? You had a couple other thoughts there. What were they?
Lots of people, they buy cars, but they buy ones that are pretty hard to fix. Mm-hmm. And electric ones are usually faster than the nitros, so...
Controversial. Keep going.
I would just go with the electrics anyway.
Yep. Okay, so you reckon, so go with something simple, take photos, get the manual, have somewhere to put the parts, get spare parts, have a set of tools. Now some of these cars do come with some minimal tools, but as I say, something like that is essential, especially if you're going to keep going in the hobby. Yeah. I also see a lot of guys make comments about, oh look, this has cost me a lot of money, I'm getting real sad now. And you know, I've actually written to them in the comment sections and said, look, this is the only reason that you're sad about this is because you're looking at this pile of stuff and thinking, oh, I spent all this money. But if it was some other hobby, that money, like if you'd gone to a gaming parlor, like I don't know, like playing electronic games, or if you'd bought game things, they're consumable, so the money disappears. You don't. The reason is that it's confronting for you and you're getting buyer's remorse is because this stuff's fitting in front of you and you see how much you've spent. A lot of this stuff though is resaleable on eBay. You can probably get 50% of what you paid for it at least on eBay, plus the fact that you're forgetting that you had a lot of fun doing this, or you should have at least had a lot of fun doing it.
Until you broke it.
Yeah.
In fact, I think that's the best part, breaking it.
Yeah, well, I mean, most of our cars, and we've got a reasonable number of cars, are sitting in the cupboard broken, so they're either waiting for parts or we're going to fix them. Doesn't mean they're never going to come out of the cupboard again. It just means that in order for us to take them somewhere, we're going to have to spend a couple of hours working on them before they go.
Well, the thing you remember with RC cars is you don't remember how fun they were to run and things. You remember all the good smashes and things you've broken them and stuff like that.
And that's why we video it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I could be driving a nitro and smash it into the curb and rip the front wheels off, and I will remember that more than just driving it up and down the street.
Cool. All right. And I guess, you know, having the video and putting it in slow-mo is all part of the fun, right?
Yep. Especially when you hit a dog.
Controversial again. Now, we're going to have a look at our Big 5SC, take it for a bit of a wrap at the end of this video. That Big 5SC is called Ken, and that's because it's Ken Big. Don't tell your mother. You'll work it out. Anyway.
Okay, the moral of the story is if you're going to play with RC cars, it's essential to learn how to fix them. See you next time on Stupid Fast RC. What?
It's Ken. You know,
What?
it's Ken, like Ken Big. Don't you get it?
No.
Ken Big.
Oh.
It's Ken. That's why he's called Ken. Wasn't on. You go.
Well, that was another example of us breaking things. So the moral of today was, do not let us play with RC cars if we're with you.